Michael Raynons woke before the alarm. The bedroom was quiet. There was a cool breeze from the street and the smell of damp boards from the old porch. He felt for the mug with the words "Best Sheriff" on the nightstand, took a sip, and put the mug back. The coffee was strong, the way he liked it on weekdays. "How was your night?" he asked quietly. "Fine," Jessica answered from the bathroom. "I woke up early and decided to sort out the baskets for the festival." She walked into the room, drying her hands on a towel. She was wearing a dark sweater and jeans. Her hair was pulled back into a ponytail. Her face was calm, but Michael noticed how she avoided lingering with his eyes. He said nothing. He had long since learned not to jump to conclusions in the morning. "I put the radio in the kitchen," she added. "They play old country music. You like that better than silence." "Thank you," he said. "I'll be right down." On his way to the kitchen, he glanced into the nursery. Jilly was asleep, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Her backpack with the school team patch was lying on a chair. Everything in the room was in its place. Michael straightened the blanket and went out. The kitchen smelled of scrambled eggs and bacon. The cat was rubbing against the table leg, demanding a bowl. Jessica put a plate, knife, fork, and a small salt shaker on the table. "I added a little cinnamon to my coffee," she said. "I'm not sure you like it, but I thought I'd give it a try." "It's fine," he nodded. "It's not sweet anymore. It's just an aftertaste." "Okay," she smiled, but the smile quickly disappeared. "I'm a little nervous about the festival. There's a shortage of volunteers again, and I promised the director to help with the children's sections." "You can handle it," he said. "You always can." They ate in silence. In the pauses, you could hear the frying pan sizzling quietly, the radio playing familiar tunes. No sudden movements, everything was routine. Michael caught himself thinking that he hadn't asked Jessica about her plans for the week for a long time. Not about work, but about life. He put down his fork. "Do you have school today?" he asked. "Yes. We're preparing for the fall tests, and I promised to replace the teacher in the junior classes for one lesson. I also need to pick up the stamp for the festival forms." She sighed. "Too many little things, all on me." "I can pick up the seal on the way," he offered. "No need, I'll come myself. You're already busy." He nodded. It was easier for him to do the job than to look at her tired face. But he didn't want to argue. He poured them both more coffee and set the mug in front of her. "Thank you," she said. "If anything happens, I'll call." Michael wanted to ask why she avoided talking about last night's dinner. They had gone through it in the usual way: soup, salad, cartoons for Gilly. But at the table, Jessica kept looking at her phone. He had decided not to pick on her. Now he noticed again how she had moved the phone a little further away, face down. Her gaze was calm but attentive, like that of someone who constantly checks an internal to-do list. The office phone rang. Michael picked it up and looked at the screen. The display read FBI. He turned on the speakerphone and walked over to the window. "Raynons," he said. "Sheriff Raynons, Agent Maria Pike, Agent Olivia Carter here," a female voice said. "We need to meet about the Seth Raymond case. Can you get there? As soon as possible, please." The warmth of the kitchen faded into the background. Seth's name immediately formed a clear line of facts. Trainee, 22, polite, non-confrontational, kept his word. The department considered him promising. He had disappeared 5 days ago. There was no official confirmation of the criminal line, but rumors were already circulating. "I can," Michael replied. "I'll be with you within half an hour." "We're waiting," Pike said. "I'll send the address and contact to your number." The connection was lost. Jessica put down her mug. "What happened?" she asked. "The FBI is here about Seth," he said calmly. "They have new information. I'm going to see them." "I see," she nodded. "Do you want me to take Gilly to school so you don't have to go in circles?" "Yes, thank you. I'll come by later and pick her up after the club, if I have time." "Fine." She stood up and cleared the plates from the table. Her movements were confident and quick. He watched her carefully lower the dishes into the sink wiped the table. He wanted to say something about their weekend, about how they hadn't gone anywhere together in a long time, not even to the lake. Instead, he came up to her, lightly touched her shoulder, and said, "See you in the evening." "Take care of yourself," she replied. "And please eat properly, not just coffee." He took his jacket, keys, and service folder. On the way, he looked into the nursery. Jilly was already awake and playing with blocks. He sat down next to her. "I have an early start today," he said. "I'll try to pick you up after the club. If I'm late, Mom will come earlier." "Okay," said the girl. "Dad, can I have cookies after dinner today?" "We'll see," he smiled, "if you go to bed on time." She nodded gravely, as children do when they are used to rules. He fixed her hair and left. It was chilly outside. He got into the truck, started the engine, and turned the air conditioner on warm. The screen showed the route to the FBI office in the city in the suburbs. The road was familiar, past a drugstore, an auto repair shop, an empty lot where they were going to build a shopping center. At the intersection, he stopped and turned off the radio. He wanted silence. Thoughts about Seth pulled up the details of the work. Who last saw him, where he got out of the car, what the calls were like the day before he disappeared. The agents would tell him all of this again, but he had a habit of laying out the facts in his mind so as not to miss the simple ones. He pulled onto the highway. Along the way, he remembered Seth inviting him and Jessica to an amateur softball game. Jessica couldn't make it that time. She had an inspection at school. Michael showed up alone, sat in the stands, then went home. On nights like these, he usually stopped by for burgers so he wouldn't have to cook. He noticed that there were more of these nights. Everyone had their own schedules. He had his shifts, she had school and volunteer work. The phone beeped again. A message came from an unknown number with an address signed Agent Pike. Everything was correct. He answered, "I'm coming," and put the phone back in the holder. The traffic had thinned out. The road was freer. He slowed down at the turnoff to the federal complex. There were plenty of parking spaces. He parked his pickup truck next to the visitors area and checked his documents. At the entrance, security checked his ID and let him in. The hall smelled of cleaning fluid and fresh paper. No special entourage, standard corridors, glass doors, signs with offices. For him, this was a familiar environment. He had decided in advance not to argue or demonstrate territoriality. This was a different jurisdiction, and now it was advantageous for him to cooperate. The secretary led him into a small conference room. Two women were sitting at the table. One was taller, wearing a formal jacket, dark hair, and a direct gaze. The other was lighter, with a more open expression, but attentive eyes. They stood up. Agent Maria Pike, the first one, introduced herself and shook her hand. "Agent Olivia Carter." "Sheriff Michael Raynons," he replied and sat down opposite. He noted the stack of printouts on the desk, the laptop, and the notepad where Carter was already jotting down notes. There was minimal formality, which he liked. He nodded, indicating that he was ready to listen. "Thank you for coming quickly," Pike began. "This is about Seth Raymond. We're working on a theory that requires your participation. We need details about his last days, contacts, behavior, routes." "I'll answer as best I can," Michael said. "People around here are used to talking to me. If anything comes up, I'll let you know." "Okay," Carter said. Briefly, he had a caller on his last day. "The number is masked. We've requested an extended breakdown. It's still being processed." Michael leaned forward. "Is there anything about the car?" he asked. "Found on the side of the road," Pike said. "There are footprints, nothing obvious, but it's a reason for us to dig deeper. The nearest cameras didn't give anything. There's also a report. One of the bar owners saw Seth with a woman in black. We'll describe it later." Michael nodded. He felt the business part crowding out the personal. Everything became clearer. Contacts, points, the bartender's name, routine questions. He switched to work mode. But aside from all these points remained the kitchen at home, the mug with the inscription and Jessica's gaze that did not leave him. He decided to put it out of his mind until he finished the meeting. "I want to clarify," he said. "I am not against your actions. Let's agree on a communication channel so as not to duplicate requests. People in the area are nervous about unnecessary visits." "Agreed," Pike said. "We'll work through you if it doesn't interfere with the deadlines." "It doesn't bother me," he confirmed. They also discussed the working details, which of his people would be the contacts who would collect the recordings from the city cameras, which addresses to check. The conversation was businesslike and precise. No unnecessary words. He noted this and made a note. It was easier to work with such people. Towards the end of the meeting, Michael pulled out his notepad, rechecked his task list, and stood up. "I'll go to school," he said. "There are cameras there. The principal usually comes to meet me halfway." "We'll go with you," Carter replied. "It'll be quicker." "Let's go," he agreed. They walked out into the hallway. A new message came on his phone. "Can you tell me about your day later?" Jessica wrote. He replied briefly, "I will." He put the phone in his pocket. In the parking lot, he got behind the wheel of the pickup, the agents in the passenger seats. He turned on the navigator for the school and drove out of the parking lot. The day began without unnecessary conversations. The usual order gathered in his head again: facts, routes, people, time, everything else later. "Ready?" he asked before turning onto the highway. "Yes," Pike said. "Let's go." Michael drove the truck toward the school, and the agents buckled up and silently reviewed their notes. The road was clear. He felt the tension he knew from his career when everyone was trying to understand each other without treading on anyone else's territory. "Let's clarify roles before we get there," he said. "I need my guys to understand who's in charge on the ground." "We're not trying to hog the blanket," Maria Pike replied. "Access to data and speed are important to us. Otherwise, we'll work through you." "Then let's do it," Michael nodded. "I'll connect the dispatcher and give the internal channel. We'll take the recordings from the city cameras together, and I'll sign the transmission. You do the digital processing." Olivia Carter closed her notebook. "That will do," she said. "But there is a condition. If information comes to light that affects your people or the district administration, you inform us without delay, and vice versa, we share the key immediately. Half an hour for the exchange, no longer." "I agree," Michael said. They pulled into a side street and stopped at a drive-through coffee shop. Pike pointed to the drive-through window. "5 minutes. I need coffee," she asked calmly. "No problem," Michael said, rolling up to the window, picking up 3 glasses and a cardboard holder. "Strong, no sugar," he said. "Yours?" "Black," Pike said. "With milk for me," Carter added. Once the car was moving again, Pike opened the folder. "Personal. What type was Seth?" she asked. "Based on your observations." "Calm, honest, polite," Michael said without pause. He was careful with documents. You wouldn't call him talkative, but if he promised to return with an answer, he did. He got along with the guys and with the citizens, too. "Conflicts?" Carter asked. "Nothing serious. Once he asked to transfer his shift because of a family matter. I allowed it. Never asked again. Girls, bar, excitement." Pike's even tone didn't become harsher, but the question was direct. "Nothing like that," Michael replied. "I was at the bar a couple of times with our guys after the games, but I sat at the counter calmly." Pike shuffled the sheets and showed a printout of the call schedule. The last day, from 1805 to 1822, a conversation with a masked subscriber. Before that, a short exchange with a school's city number at 1611. Also 3 incoming unanswered calls from unknown numbers, and 1 message sent to a number we haven't checked yet. She looked up. "Do you have any idea who these people are?" "School is an obvious point. The rest is not clear yet," Michael said. He didn't complain before he disappeared. "We got word from the rail house," Carter said. "Seth was there 3 weeks ago, in the company of a woman in black. The waiter described her as a brunette, medium height, well-groomed, about 40. She was ordering a soft drink. The conversation was quiet, but the bartender said he seemed tense. Pike added, another source mentioned the Soulful Help Center, an NGO that works on grants and organizes fundraisers for low-income families. People from the school and local administration could have crossed paths there. It's a coincidence, but we don't ignore it. Michael thought of Jessica and her festival baskets. His grip on the steering wheel tightened, but his voice didn't change. Many people in our area cross paths with them, he said. If you go there with badges, you'll be greeted kindly. But people will start wondering why the Federals are interested in philanthropists. I have a request. Let's go in quietly first. I know them. Noted, Pike said. And one more thing. We'll ask for copies of the reports in advance, through open requests, quietly. It's important for us to see the money flow, but we don't jump to conclusions in advance. They were silent for a moment. The intersection to the school was visible ahead, but Pike asked them to slow down. Let's get this straight, she said. Any conflicts of interest we should know about. The salon became quiet. The question was professional, but it concerned the interior. Michael looked at both of them in the mirror. He didn't want to look away. If I see such a conflict, I will tell you, he replied. At the moment, I do not see one. Pike nodded without pressing. Carter wrote down the wording verbatim. Okay, she said. Let's get to the procedures. The school's cameras. We need the last week's archive, entrances and exits, parking lot, hallways. The principal is Rosenberg, right? Yes, Michael confirmed. He doesn't like formalities, but he can't do without a request form. I have a template. And one more thing, Carter said. We need a flash drive with metadata, not just video. Recording time, server offset. I'll provide it, Michael said. He turned on the turn signal and unexpectedly turned not towards the school, but onto the next street. Let's drop by my department for 3 minutes, he explained. I'll take the forms and notify the duty officers. Otherwise, we'll run into bureaucracy at the directors. Okay, Pike agreed, but really 3 minutes. At the sheriff's office, he walked through the reception area. Nancy, the desk clerk, looked up from her monitor. Mike, you have company, she said, looking at the badges. Is everything okay? Yes, Nancy. Get Biggs on the intercom. And print out the school materials transfer form, standard Case 7. Another flash drive with the verified hash sum. I understand, Nancy nodded. Deputy Biggs appeared, a stocky man with short hair. Boss? He asked, looking at the guests. The situation with Seth. I'm on the road with special guests. Back up the collection of requests from the cameras at the intersection near the railhouse. And talk to the bartender, but no pressure. Name's Joe Ellis. Don't make any noise. We'll do it, Biggs said. Nancy laid the forms and the flash drive on the table. Michael quickly signed, checked the dates, and attached the principal's business card to the application to make the conversation easier. It all took less than 5 minutes. He thanked her and returned to his car. That's it, Carter said, accepting the documents. It's obvious this isn't your first day on the job. It's impossible to do otherwise in the district, he said. People remember not words, but how you solve their little problems. The school server is also someone's little problem. As we were driving to school, Pike asked, Tell us about Seth, not as an intern, but as a person. What motivated him? He wanted to join the police first, then move up, Michael said. He said that service is ordered. Not pathos, just order. He liked it when everything was according to the rules. A little naive, but not stupid. Which adults influenced him? Carter asked. Teachers, pastor, coach. He was well reviewed at school. He attended the pastor's youth meetings, but he wasn't a fanatic. Of the adults, there was Principal Rosenberg, and Michael hesitated. And my wife, I guess. Jessica was good with him. He came over for dinner a couple of times. Nothing special, just the usual talk about school. He said it calmly, but he felt the word dinner stuck somewhere between his throat and his memory. Pike made a note in her notebook. Can we talk to your wife later? she asked evenly, as someone in her circle, at a time convenient for her. Yes, of course, he replied. Just give her a little time. She's busy preparing for the festival. I understand, Carter said. We won't go in on her without warning. The school block greeted them with well-kept lawns. There were still spaces in the parking lot. Michael parked far from the entrance so as not to attract attention with his uniform and cars with guests. They took a folder, a flash drive, and went to the administrative wing. A security guard met them at the entrance, checked their IDs, and invited them into the director's office. Rosenberg rose to greet them. Sheriff agents, he said. I was expecting you later, but it's good to have you here. Come in. The office was simple. A desk, a file cabinet, 2 chairs, a photo of the graduating class. No unnecessary objects. Rosenberg took out the key to the server room. I don't give out a single request without a piece of paper, he said, looking up. But I trust you. What do you need? Michael put the forms on the table. 7 days' worth of archive, he said. Cameras at the entrances, parking corridors. Here's a flash drive with the check, and also metadata to verify the time. We won't interfere with lessons. Okay, Rosenberg said. We have an admin on site. Let's go. They walked into a small room with monitors and a counter. The admin, a young guy in a checkered shirt, sat down at the keyboard. Do you want to remove everything or just the points? He asked. By the dots, Carter said. We'll start with the Monday before last, from 7:30 to 9. Then we'll move forward a day, save in hourly blocks, and the server logs separately. While the admin was working, Rosenberg invited Michael to the side, to the window. Seth was here last this morning, he said quietly. He was acting normal, a little thoughtful. Didn't notice anything strange. But one thing, the director searched for words. He was interested in grants for school programs. He asked who we had in contact with the foundations. I gave him some general information. I don't know if it's related. Who exactly is your contact? Michael asked. Everything is through the Soulful Help Center. They help with applications. Formally, the school follows its own path, but in fact, it's hard without their guidelines. Our teachers are overloaded. Michael noted this. Pike approached, having heard part of the conversation. Do you have the center's contact information? She asked. Yes, Rosenberg replied. Here's the coordinator's card, Mrs. Holloway, a very active woman. Carter returned from the server. The first package is ready, she said. Let the rest load in the background. We'll pick it up when we're done. Rosenberg nodded. I'll make sure you get help and don't distract the children, he said. If you need teachers, let me know in advance. I'll arrange meetings after school. When they reached the corridor, Michael stopped. Next on the agenda is the Railhouse Bar, he said. But I'd prefer to make one call. First, to the Soul Center. No visit, just a quick chat, so it doesn't look like we've come with a complaint. Good idea, Pike said, but no details. Say we're looking at the overall background of grants. That's enough. Michael dialed the number on the business card. They answered quickly. The Soul Help Center, Mrs. Holloway, a cheerful female voice said. Good afternoon, this is Sheriff Raynons, he said. I have a couple of quick questions about school grants. I'd like to know who's in charge of applications. I am, she replied. I have meetings with volunteers today, but I can talk on the phone for 10 minutes. What are you talking about? We're raising recent projects, Michael said. Don't worry, this isn't a test. I want to understand how your process works. I'll call you back in an hour when I get off the court, Holloway said. If you don't mind, I'll put you through to our accountant later. I'll write down your number. Thank you, Michael said. He hung up. Pike noted the time. An hour, she said. We'll have time to stop at the bar. They moved toward the exit, Carter falling a step behind them as they walked. Can I ask you a personal question? She said, quietly enough not to sound formal. How long have you been married? 15 years old, he answered. The child is 7. Why do you ask? People of your age and status sometimes try to turn a blind eye to things they don't like, she said without emphasis. This is not a reproach. It's an observation. If something seems strange to you, don't swallow it. Speak up right away. It will be easier for us to help. I hear, Michael said, and I understand what you mean. He didn't specify what exactly he understood, but inside it was clearly recorded. He opened the passenger door for the agents, got behind the wheel, and started the engine. The plan for the rest of the day became clear. Get the school archive, the bar, a call from the center, then home. He caught himself wanting to arrive earlier than usual to see Jessica before nightfall. No scenes, just talk. Not about the accusations, but about how they live. Let's go, he said. The rail house is 10 minutes away. The rail house stood at the fork where the highway met the city street. It was quiet during the day, an open door, the smell of fried chicken and fresh table polish. A couple of men at the counter were silently finishing their lunch. The bartender was wiping glasses, and an old refrigerator hummed with lemonades on the counter. Looking for Joe Ellis, Michael said, putting the ID in his pocket. Is he the owner? I am, responded a man of about 50 with gray temples. Sheriff, I remember you. And these are federal? Maria Pike and Olivia Carter showed badges. We need information about an evening 3 weeks ago, Pike said. A young man named Seth Raymond and a woman in black. You mentioned seeing the two of them together. Joe nodded and walked around the counter, inviting them to go to the far corner. Sit in the office, he said. It's quieter there. I'm just going through the papers for last month. The office was small. A desk, a safe, 2 old chairs, a printer. On the wall hung a calendar with a schedule of musical evenings. Joe took the order book out of the drawer. I make bartenders write down weird incidents, he explained. Not for the police, for myself. If someone's causing trouble, if someone leaves a forgotten card. Nothing was broken that night, but I flagged the guy. I was too nervous. He flipped through the pages and found a note. Here it is, Friday, 3 weeks ago, around 8. The guy short hair, thin, neat. The girl, the woman in black, as you said. I set a table for them by the window. She ordered lemonade without sugar and a salad. He coffee and a sandwich. They didn't touch their food for a long time. They talked quietly. There were no conflicts? Carter asked. No, but the guy's face showed that he was waiting for news from her and didn't understand whether it was good or bad. He wanted to leave a couple of times. Her gestures were calm, no hysteria. At some point, she put a thin envelope on the table. She moved it towards him with her finger. He put the envelope in his backpack. They sat for a while, paid, and left separately. Cash or card? Michael asked. She with a card, with contactless payment. He paid cash for his coffee and sandwich. I have the amounts, but I don't see the names on the terminal. It's at the bank. I can give you a printout of the receipts by time if there is an official request. Michael handed over the prepared copy transfer form. Here's the form, he said. We'll add a formal request for bank transactions later. Right now, the checklists you have. No problem, Joe nodded. And one more thing. We have cameras. The picture is not perfect, but faces are distinguishable. The archive is kept for a month, and this day has not been erased yet. Pike exchanged glances with Carter. Can I have a copy of the segment from that evening, she said, from 7:30 to 9, and the system logs so we can check the time. We'll do it, Joe said. My son is in charge of the technical part. I'll call him. They walked out of the office to the counter. Joe called the guy from the back room who opened the video recording program and moved the slider to the desired date. The screen showed a picture from the entrance, then switched to a view of the hall. For a few seconds, everyone watched in silence. In the video, Seth walked into the bar, stopped at the door, looked around the room, and took off his baseball cap. He looked tired. He sat down and put his backpack next to him. 5 minutes later, a woman appeared in the frame. Dark shoulder-length hair, a black dress, a simple black bag with a short handle. No jewelry except for a thin bracelet on her right hand. She sat down, leaned forward, and said something short. Seth nodded belatedly. The waiter brought drinks. Rewind to the moment with the envelope, Carter asked. The man at the computer rewound. In the recording, the woman took a thin envelope out of her bag, put it on the edge of the table, and moved it slightly toward Seth. He looked at it, pressed his lips together, and put it back inside. The dialogue continued for another 10 minutes. Then they paid. The woman stood up first, nodded, and left. Seth sat for a couple more minutes, then left too. The car in our parking lot is only visible on the outside camera, Joe said. But you can't get the license plate from there. The quality is low. Give me the outer track too, Pike asked. We'll still watch the timeline. While Joe's son was downloading the fragments onto a flash drive, Michael asked, Has this woman ever been here again? Not since that night, Joe said. Before, I may have seen her one afternoon with someone from the administration, but I'm not sure. We have city project meetings nearby, and people come in for coffee. Her speech, her accent, Michael asked. Standard, no obvious southern drawl, Joe said. Polite, brief, no unnecessary words. She spoke quietly. Carter jotted down details: height, approximate shoe size, the way she held her bag, what she drank. Nothing sensational, but there was a sense of seriousness. The woman did not give the impression of someone hiding, more like she was in control of the meeting. The flash drive with the video and logs was handed over against a receipt. Joe added copies of the checks with timestamps. Pike left a business card and promised that if necessary they would return with an official request to the bank. As they stepped outside, Michael's phone vibrated. The number for the Soul Help Center. Mrs. Holloway, I'm listening, he replied. Sheriff, I have 10 minutes, she said. What did you want to clarify? We're looking at school grants, Michael said. Who's consulting with teachers on applications? Are there any outside consultants? Yes, we have a methodology partner, Holloway said. His name is Ethan Vale. He helps sort through foundation requests, sometimes meeting in person at schools. I'll give you his contact information if you need it. He's a contract worker. He's paid for by our private donations, not the district budget. Pike stood nearby, listening on speakerphone. She made a note. Has he been to school in the last 2 weeks? Michael asked. I think so. He came to Principal Rosenberg with brochures on STEM programs. I can look at the calendar and give you exact dates. Thank you, Michael said. And one more thing. We'd like to request your public reports on grants, amounts, donors, list of schools whose applications were assisted. Of course, she answered without pause. I'll send you everything that needs to be published by mail. We have nothing to hide. Would it be convenient for you to meet in person tomorrow? Pike interjected, leaning toward the phone. We want to understand the overall process. 15 minutes anytime. I have a meeting with volunteers tomorrow at 11, Holloway said. I can see you at the office at 10. I'll send you the address. Will do, Pike replied. The call ended. They stood in the sun, silent. A delivery truck hummed by the road. Pike looked focused. Okay, she said. We have a woman in black and a grant consultant. The woman hands over an envelope. The consultant probably meets Seth at school. So far, these are parallel lines. Let's see if they intersect. I want to check the face of the man in the maroon jacket from the school camera against this Vale guy's photo, Michael said. If Holloway sends his card, that'll be easier. We'll ask tomorrow, Carter nodded. Today, a bar, school, a couple more calls, and then tonight, the initial viewing of the video. No guesses. Michael looked at his phone. A text from Jessica. I can pick up Jilly after club. Can you get home before 7? He replied. I'll try. I'll call you if I'm late. He wanted to add something about dinner or their conversation, but he stopped himself. Work mode now. Talk later when it was clearer what was going on. What next? Pike asked. I want our desk officer to request the anonymized transaction details for the woman's card from the bank, Michael said. They won't give us a name without a warrant, but they will confirm the time, amount, and last four digits. That will help tie the record to a specific transaction. Agreed, Pike said. We'll send our request in parallel. We should at least have confirmation by this evening. They got back in the car. On the way to the office, Michael called Biggs and described the new steps. Copies of receipts, videos, the necessary letters. Biggs confirmed that cameras were already filming the archive from the intersection, near the bar, and everything was going according to plan. One more thing, Biggs added. The bartender said it wasn't the first time they'd had a woman there, but it wasn't common. I'm checking nearby establishments for similar descriptions. If any come up, I'll let you know. Accepted, Michael said. Maria took out her laptop and began transferring the video from the flash drive to the encrypted storage. We'll watch the parts in the office tonight, she said. We won't analyze the scenes in the school without you, so as not to get a double interpretation. Okay, Michael said. I'll be there at 6 if I don't screw up my shift. They turned into the city park for a short stop. They needed to redistribute tasks. In the shade of the gazebo, they stood at a table. Let's do it on paper, Carter suggested. A plan for the evening. She wrote down. School, collect remaining video blocks, check time logs, make a map of cameras. Bar, make a formal request for a woman's bank transaction. Center, receive public records by mail, gather information on consultant Ethan Weil, request his work photo and contract. Crossroads at the rail house, checking the time against the entry record into the bar. Home, the sheriff is in touch, no surprises, contacts with Seth's relatives are only after approval. One more thing, Michael added. I'd like to let the principal know that a consultant may be visiting us for a short visit tomorrow. No unnecessary details. I agree, Pike said. But first, let's check that this is really the man from the camera. We don't want any more names floating around. They separated for a few minutes, each making a few calls. When they returned to the car, it was almost 3. Michael opened the driver's door, but stopped. I'll tell you straight, he said to the agents. Everyone knows everyone in the area. Any haste and people will start talking. I'm ready to move quickly, but cleanly. If we see a conflict of interest, I won't hide it. And from you too. We appreciate it, Pike said. And I'll be frank too. If a woman from a bar turns out to be connected to someone in your circle, that's not an accusation. That's information. We word it carefully. I don't like to ruin people's reputations without facts. Thank you, Michael said. They drove to the office for a quick meeting and to unload the materials. In the evidence room, Nancy processed the flash drives, checked the hash sums, and put everything in the safe. Carter checked the case numbers again. That's all I have for the evening, she said. We'll meet at our place at 6 for the viewing. I'll try to come in, Michael replied. After the agents left, Michael took a moment of silence in his office. He looked at the family photo, the 3 of them on the porch, Jessica reaching out for a hug, Gilly laughing. He didn't like to talk pompously about family. He was better at doing things, picking them up from school, fixing the faucet, buying groceries. But now it was important to him that they talk calmly that evening, about what was on each of their minds, without shouting and without lists of complaints. The phone vibrated gently. Jessica wrote, "Getting soup from the cafe by school for dinner. Jilly wants a cookie. Are you okay?" He typed. "Going to watch a video at 6. Be there after. Cookie one. Hug you later." He put the phone on the table. He knew how to wait when it was necessary, and he knew how to ask direct questions when they were necessary. Michael pulled up to the FBI office by 6 in the evening. The viewing room was cool. The screen played a series of clips, a school, a hallway, a lobby, a parking lot. In one of the frames, the man in the dark jacket appeared again. His face was hard to see, but his gait was confident, without fuss. Seth looked tense in the recording, as if he was waiting for instructions. There was no sound. Carter noted the time codes. Pike compared the camera clock with the server time. The conversation lasted a little over an hour. They agreed. Tomorrow, spiritual help center and consultations on grants. On the way out, Pike said, "If you have any personal circumstances, please let us know in advance. It is important for us that you are in touch." "Got it," Michael replied. He stopped at a store on the way. Milk, paper towels, dry cat food. He opened his door at just after 8. The house smelled of chicken soup. A warm lamp burned in the kitchen. Jessica set the plates on the table. "You made it," she said. "The soup is cold, but I'll warm it up." "Myself," he answered and put the pan on the stove. Jilly took a chocolate chip cookie out of the box and looked at him questioningly. He nodded. She took one and sat down next to him. "Our school announced a crafts competition for the festival," she said. "You can make a house out of cardboard boxes." "Great," Michael replied. "We'll pick a day off and do it together." Jessica looked at him carefully, but didn't ask about the service. He told her only the basics: a meeting, a video, visits tomorrow. At the table, they talked about Gilly's business, about the neighbor's broken mailbox, and the lawn mowing scheduled for Saturday. After dinner, Jilly went to brush her teeth and choose a book for the night. Michael brought an old edition of Animals to her room. He read calmly, without rushing. The girl quickly fell asleep. He put the book back on the shelf, turned off the light, and closed the door. In the living room, Jessica was clearing away the dishes. He picked up a towel and began drying the plates. They worked in silence for a few minutes. Then she said, "You're tense. Is there something you didn't like about today?" "Work is work," he replied. "It will be busier tomorrow." She nodded. She took the elastic out of her hair, ran her hand over the back of her head, and set the silverware out to dry. The phone was lying face down on the dresser. He caught a glimpse of the new clear film on the back. She must have changed the case. Jessica grabbed a mug of tea and walked out onto the back porch. The boards creaked softly under her feet. He put the towel away and looked at the phone again. The screen lit up with an incoming notification. A short line appeared on the locked screen. C5A7 confirmed. Rodna is ready. Zernova on schedule. The sender was listed as K, office. He didn't try to pick the encoding, but the content itself was strange. The words Rodna and Zernova were not used in their family. He stood there, looking at the door to the porch. Two desires warred inside him: to leave it as it was, or to see if it was related to the case. He picked up the phone, not to read it, but to put it away from the edge. The screen lit up again. Now a photograph has arrived. He saw a thumbnail: vineyards, a woman and a man in front of a row of vines, both wearing expensive clothes. The woman was hugging the man. Only part of her face was visible in the thumbnail, but her hair and posture were like Jessica's. He didn't unlock the phone with the code. He knew it was a fine line, but he kept the frame in front of his eyes and felt that there would be no answer without talking anyway. He put the phone back and went out onto the porch. Jessica sat on the step, holding her mug with both hands. The night was quiet, and she could hear the garage being closed next door. He sat down next to her. "What's wrong with your K?" "Office," he asked calmly. A notification flashed on the screen. There were some strange words in it. She didn't answer right away. She put the mug on the step and ran her finger along the rim. "This isn't related to your job," she said. "This is work. I'm helping out on a project." "Which one?" he asked. "Grants," she said. "You know I'm into that." "Rodina and Zernova, what are these names?" He did not raise his voice. "These are the names of houses in one of the projects at the center," she said. "We mark requests for repairs and equipment that way. It's convenient so as not to get confused." "Who are you doing this with?" he asked. She looked at him. Her gaze was not frightened, but it was cautious. "With the center's partner," she said. "He helps with the paperwork." "Ethan Vale?" he asked. She nodded, but slowly. "Yes, while," she said. "He understands foundation requirements and knows the people in the big programs." And the photo with the vineyards? Michael asked. It came with the notification. It was on the screen by accident. I didn't open the phone. She remembered leaving the phone on the dresser and didn't argue. This is a trip from 2 years ago, she said. There was a donor meeting there. We went as a group. The photo was sent as a reminder about the new round of applications. You're hugging a man in the picture, he said. Is that Vale? She looked towards the area where there was a small barn. Yes, she answered after a pause. It was different then. I don't want to make a secret of it. I understand how it looks. But let's be honest. He didn't rush. He listened. I was drawn to the school for many years, she said. I thought that if I pulled out a couple of programs, it would be easier for the children. I believed that it was right. When the chances for big grants appeared, everything started spinning. We went to meetings, corresponded at night, and worked on weekends. I do not absolve myself of guilt for allowing too close a relationship, but it was not about frivolity. It happened during a period when you were always on shifts and on calls, and at home we almost never spoke. I am not making excuses. I am simply telling you how it was. He was silent, his eyes fixed on the porch boards. His throat was dry. He repeated her words in his mind so as not to hear what she had not said. Is this continuing? He asked. No, she said. I put an end to it. About 7 months ago. Now we only communicate about work. On a ready not ready level. I understand that these explanations sound cold, but I'm not going to hide it. You have the right to know. Why didn't you tell me earlier? He asked. Because I was afraid of ruining what we had left, she replied, and because I thought I could close it all and move on. I thought confessing would only bring pain and no benefit. And yes, that was also the wrong decision. He nodded. He heard her voice, which held no tears or mockery, only the tired tone of someone who had reached the edge and was no longer evading. Does this have anything to do with Seth? He asked. I'm not looking for a sensation. I'm trying to figure out if there's a connection. I don't know what his connection is, she said. I remember Ethan coming to the principal's office a couple weeks ago with brochures. I found out about it after the fact. I haven't had any meetings with Seth. If you want, I can give you the work correspondence with the center, but I don't want to give you the personal ones. It's a matter of boundaries, and it's not because there's anything illegal in it. I'm just not ready for you to leaf through every detail of my past choices. He nodded again. He understood that she was now laying out the rules of a new conversation. I'm not asking for personal letters, he said, but I need to know if there's a threat to the case. If there are payments, offshores, any schemes, that's important. I won't let you end up inside the investigation as a person of interest. I'd do that for anyone, but you're my wife and the mother of our daughter. I don't have any offshore companies, she said, and the center has public reports. There is strict reporting on grants, I know that. If you need something for verification, request it officially. I'll tell you where to get the documents faster. He rubbed his face with his palm and lowered his hand. I have a conflict of interest to disclose to the FBI, he said calmly. You were close to a consultant we may see tomorrow. This is not an indictment. This is a defense of the case and a defense of you. I will frame this carefully. I will say that we are married and that you had a personal relationship with Vale in the past. I will ask that you be excluded from any unofficial sources. It is my duty. Do as you must, she said. I won't interfere. They sat on the porch for a few more minutes. The clock in the house ticked quietly. Jessica lifted her mug and took a sip. Michael felt his breathing return to normal without rushing. We need to decide what we do next, he said. Not just about the case, about us. We have a child. We have a home. It's important to me that we talk. Not in the format of who is to blame, but in the format of what do we choose. I'm not saying today, and I'm not expecting ready-made answers, but we can't drag this out any longer. I agree, she said. I'm ready to see a marriage counselor. I'm ready to schedule chores so that everyone has time for themselves. I'm ready to explain how my work projects work so that you don't feel like you're living next to someone else's life. Okay, he replied. I'm ready to change too. I've hidden and worked too often. I thought I was protecting us from the problems of the district. But it turned out that I left home not only physically. She nodded. It wasn't a reconciliation or a final conversation, but it was honest. He stood up. I'll send a quick note to Pike, he said. I'll report the conflict. No details. We'll have questions about the center tomorrow morning. We'll talk more this evening. Okay, she said. I'll tidy up the kitchen and come to bed. If I don't fall asleep, I'll read. Do you mind? I don't mind, he said. He walked into the office and typed a short message to the agent. I am formally informing you. Personal conflict of interest. My wife had a close relationship with grant consultant Ethan while in the past. We are not in a relationship now. Please take this into account when planning contacts. I am ready to discuss it in the morning. He reread the text and sent it. He put the phone down, screen down. He looked at the family photo on the shelf. He didn't look for confirmation that he was doing the right thing. He understood that there would be a series of decisions ahead, each one with consequences. But he knew how to follow the procedure and how to talk to the person he had lived with for 15 years. He returned to the porch. Jessica was collecting the empty mug. She sat down on the top step for a second and said quietly, "Thank you for not shouting." "Shouting won't help us," he replied. "Order and conversation will help us." She nodded. He turned on the outside light, closed the door, and checked the lock. The house was quiet. No loud noises. No sudden movements. "Good night," he said. "Calm down," she replied. Michael woke up early that morning and, while the house was asleep, quickly skimmed his notes for the meeting with the Soul Help Center. He made oatmeal, left a note for Jessica, and drove into town. At 9:40, he was already parked outside the center's small office, a one-story building next to the library and the drugstore. The appointment schedule was posted on the glass door, and inside was a counter, a meeting room, and several shelves with boxes and brochures. At 10 o'clock sharp, Mrs. Holloway came out, a smart woman of about 50 in a light jacket. Next to her was an assistant with a tablet. "Sheriff Raynons?" Holloway asked, smiling politely. "And the agents?" Maria Pike nodded. Olivia Carter said hello. "Thank you for seeing us during business hours," Michael said. "The conversation is short." They sat down in the conference room. There were bottles of water and a stack of brochures on the table called Support for School Programs. Pike turned on the recorder as per protocol and outlined the topic clearly: the application process, the role of consultants, the list of participating schools. Holloway answered calmly and without fuss. She showed application templates, a donation log, and public reports, which are already available on the site. When asked about Ethan Vale, she responded without irritation. "Yes, we work with him under a contract," she said. "The conditions are simple. He helps schools put together a package of documents, explains the requirements of the funds, and sometimes holds seminars. He does not accept money from schools. We cover his expenses from private donations." "When was he last at Rosenberg School?" Carter asked. "A week ago," Holloway said, checking her calendar. "The meeting was in the morning, about 40 minutes. "We'll need a copy of Vale's contract and his official photo," Pike said. "The public portions of the contract will do." "We'll have it ready by the evening." Holloway nodded. "I'll send you a photo by email." Michael listened and noted the details. He didn't interrupt, but when Pike paused, he said, "I have to report. I have a personal conflict of interest. My wife was in a close relationship with Mr. Vale in the past. She is not now. Please take this into account when planning your work steps." Holloway wasn't surprised and didn't pretend she was hearing about it for the first time. "I understand," she said. "I appreciate you being so forthright about this. It's important to us that no one thinks we're hiding anything. If necessary, we'll put together an expanded set of documents for you tomorrow." The conversation lasted a little over 30 minutes. On the way out, Pike said, "We will come back with clarifications after watching the video. Thank you for your openness." Voices were already ringing out on the street. A festival was starting in the city park, for which Jessica and the volunteers were assembling baskets. The air smelled of grilled corn and freshly baked goods. Michael checked his watch. He had an hour before the next round of screenings. He texted Jessica that he would be walking through the park and received a quick, "Okay, we're at the stage, table 4." The park was filled with tents. Schoolchildren were selling lemonade, artisans were laying out handmade soaps, and a local DJ was setting up equipment near the stage. At table hash 4, wicker baskets were filled with stationery, mugs, and school uniform vouchers. Jessica was standing with a notepad, 2 moms from the TA were nearby, and a gym teacher in a baseball cap was further away. "Hello," Michael said, stopping at a distance. "Hi," she replied. "Need help carrying this box to the stage?" "I can," he nodded. He picked up the box, carried it to the foot of the stage, and returned to the table. He saw that Jessica was working confidently, marking numbers, accepting donations, smiling at students and parents. Her voice was calm. He caught the eyes of a couple of people who recognized him and pretended to look at the posters. Familiar. A coordinator from the center, a young woman with a badge that said Claire, approached them. "Jess, we're meeting the donor at the community partners tent after the draw," she said. "For about 10 minutes, if you can spare it." "I can," Jessica replied and turned to Michael. "I'll be gone for a few minutes when the performances start." "Do as you please," he said. "I'll hang out with Gilly at the trampolines if I can get there after the office." Mrs. Holloway, the same one they had spoken to that morning, came up to the table. She greeted Jessica, glanced briefly at Michael, and nodded without pause. No demonstrations, it was a working day, people were watching. "I brought 5 more sets of markers," Holloway said, "and certificates to an office supply store. Have them go today." "Great," Jessica replied and checked it off the list. While they were rearranging the kits, a woman in the black dress Michael had seen in the bar footage approached the tent. In person, she looked slightly older than in the video, well-groomed, confident, reserved. A black bag with a short handle, a thin bracelet on her right hand. She greeted Jessica as if she knew her. "Amy, it's good to see you," Jessica said. "Did you make it to the kids' concert?" "Yes," the woman replied. Michael could hear the voice now. "I have a meeting at Partners, but I wanted to stop by and support the lottery. I'll leave the deposit with Claire." She smiled briefly and turned her gaze to Michael. "Hello, Sheriff," she said calmly. "I'm Amy Norton. I work with a foundation that supports school programs in the county." He nodded. "Good afternoon, Miss Norton. If you make an official request for our programs, it's better to do it directly through the foundation's office," she added without pressing. "We respond promptly." "I'll note that," he said. Amy left the envelope with Claire and walked away toward the community partner's tent. Michael watched her go and found himself comparing her voice and mannerisms to the recording from the bar. It all matched. The woman in black was no random guest. By 11:30, he had said goodbye to Jessica to return to the FBI office for a quick screening of the new footage. On the way, he called Biggs back to ask the foundation for a basic contact email and a list of open programs. Biggs replied that he had already sent the standard request. The office review went quickly. They synchronized the time of the school and bar cameras, noted the 6-second difference between the servers, and added Seth's exit from school on the day of the meeting to the timeline. There was no direct connection, but the picture was getting denser. "We'll interview Amy Norton tomorrow," Pike said, flipping through the notes. "No pressure. She's the public face of the foundation. Let her explain on camera what that envelope was. We don't jump to conclusions." "And I'd like to talk to Vale," Michael added. "Preferably today, no formalities, in a neutral location. I'll introduce myself as the sheriff and as the husband. No threats, no innuendo. I need him to understand the boundaries." Pike looked at him carefully. "If you go as a husband," she said, "speak briefly and do not ask him questions on the case. Otherwise, he will later say that he perceived everything as part of the investigation." This will spoil the possible procedural line. I understand, Michael said. I'll go as a private person. I'll tell you the time and place. At 1:30, Michael received a text from Jessica. Vale is at the festival. Claire said he'll be at a meeting at Partners at 2. He replied, Roger that. I'll come over and talk to you privately off stage. He parked a block away from the park and walked to avoid attracting attention with his company car. In the community partners tent, people were standing in groups, talking about schedules, about children's projects, and someone was signing reports. Ethan Vale was standing at a high table with a laptop. Tall, neat jacket, white shirt, short hair. His badge said, consultant. Michael walked up and stopped 2 steps away. Mr. Vale, he asked evenly. Ethan looked up, not surprised but attentive. Yes, Sheriff Reynolds. We know each other by correspondence. How can I help you? 5 minutes of conversation, Michael said. Off the side, so as not to interfere with your meetings. Sure, Vale nodded. It's quiet there by the coffee counter. They walked away. The barista was pouring coffee nearby. An elderly couple was sitting at a table. The conversation could be carried on calmly. I'll be honest, Michael began. I know about your past relationship with my wife. She told me about it. I'm not looking for a scene. It's important to me that you understand the boundaries. We have a child. We have a family. If you're going to work in our schools, you're going to have to keep your distance. Vale didn't go on the defensive. He nodded and said without unnecessary softness, I understand that. We finished our personal story a few months ago. I don't want to revive it. I value your wife as a professional. Otherwise, distance. I'm sorry you found out about it like this. I won't try to justify myself. That's good, Michael said. The second thing is, I'm the sheriff. I'm involved in the missing trainee case. I'm not asking you questions about the case. I'm telling you not to try to discuss it with me outside of the official setting. If you have information, pass it on through the center or directly to the agents. Only with me if you're approached as a county citizen and want to give a general background. No half-tones. I agree, Wiles said. I know you're working with the feds. If they call me, I'll come and answer their questions. With or without you, whatever's right. Michael nodded. Vale took the glass of coffee, but didn't take a sip. One more thing, Ethan added after a short pause. I don't know what exactly you saw on the video from the bar. I met a young man there a couple of weeks ago. I gave him a packet with materials about an internship at an educational foundation and the contact of a lawyer who advises students for free. It was a request through a third party from the school. I do not give any money to students or interns. I give information. If this is mentioned in the record, I will repeat the same thing. I remember, Michael said. You're telling me this as a citizen. I won't comment on it. But I'll say this. Any contacts you have with young guys are only through clear channels. No, let's meet in the evening without an address. You're a visible person. You understand what this looks like. I understand, Ethan replied. Everything is through the school or through the center. I heard. They fell silent. The sound of the stage reached the tent. The announcer was announcing the children's choir. Vale put his glass down on the bar. Are we finished? He asked. Yes, Michael said. Thank you for your time. And to you too, Vale replied. Good luck with your work. Michael returned to the table with the baskets. Jessica was talking to her parents. Jilly was holding a balloon with the festival logo. She ran up to see her father. Dad, I have a choir number in 10 minutes, she said. Can you make it? I'll make it, he replied. Let's go take our seats. They stood to the side of the stage. The children sang 2 songs, and the host thanked the teachers. Jilly, seeing her father, smiled and waved. He gave her a thumbs up. He felt a calm he hadn't felt in a couple of days. Not because everything was clear, but because conversations were happening. After the show, the 3 of them walked to a small lemonade stand. Jilly got a strawberry one, Jessica got a classic one, and Michael got water. They stood in the shade of a tree, each talking about his own thing. Jilly about rehearsals, Jessica about the prank that evening, Michael about stopping by for a quick meeting and being back for dinner. "No late calls today?" Jessica asked. "I'll try," he replied. "If anything happens, I'll write." He looked at his watch. He had to go. He hugged Jilly, nodded to Jessica, and headed out of the park. As he walked, Pike wrote, "Met with Vale as a private citizen. Established boundaries." He confirmed meeting the young man at the bar and handed over a package of materials. No details of the case are discussed. The reply came quickly. "Acknowledged. Thanks for the heads up." In Nancy's office, he picked up the printout of the timeline and sat down at his desk. There was another round of work calls and check-ins ahead. But inside, he felt like he and Jessica had started a conversation they'd been putting off for a long time. They'd have to come back to it tonight. He closed his laptop, checked his messages, and turned off the sound for an hour. Now he had one short thing to do: write a list of topics for a family conversation without reproaches, facts, expectations, plans for the next month. He opened his notebook and started with something simple: daily routine and time for two. Household and school responsibilities. Rules of communication, no omissions. Boundaries with working contacts. Finances and vacation plans. He put down his pen. The list was ordinary, but lists like these were what kept the house together. He knew how to do them. It remained to be seen whether he knew how to discuss them. The morning began with a quick meeting at Michael's office. Biggs brought printouts. The timeline was synced. The video hashes matched. The bank's response on the woman's transaction at the bar was partial time and the last 4 digits of the card. The name was not disclosed, but the issuer line listed the fund's corporate account. This meant the payment was working. "It doesn't look like a secret meeting," Biggs said. "More like business coffee." "I agree," Michael said. "But the fact of the envelope remains. We'll ask Norton herself what was in it." He called Pike and Carter. They were due at the Heartfelt Care Center again at 10, this time not with Holloway, but with the bookkeeper and warehouse coordinator. Holloway had sent a work photo of Ethan Vale that evening, tall in a business suit in front of a banner with donor logos. In the school photo, the man had been wearing a maroon jacket, but the profile and shoulders matched. "We'll confirm it in person," Pike said over the phone. "We'll go by the numbers, donations, expenses, contracts. No fuss." Michael pulled up to the center by 10. The reception area smelled of paper and instant coffee. There was a board with donors' thanks on the wall. Waiting for them in the conference room were Holloway, an accountant named Doris, and the warehouse coordinator, Phil. "It's important for us to go over the procedures," Pike began. "Who collects, who distributes, who reports?" Doris nodded and pulled the folders forward. She spoke calmly, like someone accustomed to pedantic questions. "We have 2 streams," she said. "Targeted donations for specific programs and a general fund. From the general fund, we pay consultants and rent. Targeted donations are only for the school, only according to the estimate agreed upon with the director. Here are the reports for last year. Here are the reports for the current quarter." Carter asked for a digital export. Doris gave her a flash drive with the download. Michael looked at the project lists. There were internal codes next to them: RN 2025, ZN 2025, C5A7 in the registry column. He looked up. "What does C5A7 mean?" he asked. "Internal Application Identifier," Doris replied. "We have an old accounting system. Letters are the type, numbers are the quarter and ordinal number. Not the best interface, I know, but it's good enough for now." Rodina and Zernova, are these the names of projects or houses? Michael clarified. "The names of houses in one of the school districts," Holloway said. "We labeled them that way on the task sheet so volunteers wouldn't mix up the boxes. On external reports, we use the standard school names." Phil added, "Everything in the warehouse is marked with large stickers: Rodina, Zernova, Maple. These are for volunteers. Many come for an hour and get confused in the codes." Can I see the warehouse? Michael asked. Sure, Holloway said. We're just about to unload for the robotics class. The warehouse was in a former yoga room next to the library. On the shelves were boxes of notebooks, markers, school team shirts, and discarded laptops. Two high school students were sorting the kits into boxes. Phil showed still images, what went where, which invoices, who signed for them. We photograph each box before we send it out, he said. Then we attach the pictures to the donor's report. If something is missing, we look for it. But there have been almost no losses over the last year. Michael jotted down the details in his notebook, the procedure of receiving, unloading, marking, distributing. It was a quiet job. No hidden doors, no romance. He noted internally, there were many such systems in the area's simple rules, many hands and little money. But nearby lived the question of boundaries with consultants and funds. On the way back, they were invited to a short meeting in the office. Amy Norton was inside. She said hello, sat up straight, and put her bag next to her. We crossed paths yesterday at the festival, Pike said. Today, the questions are formal. We received confirmation that the payment at the bar was made with your foundation's card. Is that correct? Yes, Amy answered without pause. That evening I had 2 short windows between meetings. I agreed to have coffee with a young man. I was told he was looking for internships in the educational field. I brought a packet of information, a list of programs and contacts of coordinators. We decided to meet at the rail house, which is near the site. I paid for lemonade and salad with a corporate card. Nothing secret. What was in the envelope? Carter asked. Brochures and business cards, Amy replied. We have a standard set for students and alumni. I'll send copies if needed. I don't accept or hand over cash. We don't fund students' private expenses. That's the principle. Why not through the school? Pike asked. Why the meeting in the bar in the evening and not in the principal's office during the day? Because it was between 2 public blocks of the festival, Amy said. The school was setting up a stand that day, and the principal's office was occupied. It seemed to me that the school hallway was worse for noise than an empty desk for 20 minutes. In retrospect, I could have asked him to come to the foundation's office the next day. I'll keep that in mind. Did you know that this young man is a trainee in the sheriff's department? Michael asked. No, Amy said. I just knew his name, Seth, and that he wanted to figure out how to get into the programs. I didn't ask where he worked. I suspected he was from the school because the contact came through the principal's people. Who told you about him? Pike asked. Amy gave the name of the school's extracurricular coordinator. Pike wrote it down. We'll ask the director for the contact, she said. Please, Amy nodded. I'm in touch. If necessary, I'll give you written confirmation of the contents of the envelope. When she left, Holloway said quietly, Such meetings are not uncommon for us. We constantly maneuver between schedules, but I understand how it looks on video. We will review the regulations. Okay, Pike said. We care not only about what you do right, but also how it looks to others. That affects trust. Michael found Jessica in the hallway. She had brought 2 boxes of teacher kits and was discussing the schedule with Phil. When she saw Michael, she stopped. Are you staying for long? She asked. Another 40 minutes, he replied. Then I'll go to school and talk to the extracurricular coordinator. In the evening at home, a conversation based on the list. She nodded. Neither of them pretended to have forgotten the previous evening, but it was work time now. After the center, Michael stopped at Maple and Mug, a small cafe next to City Hall. Maria and Olivia were already there with their laptops. Pike had a glass of black, Carter had a latte. Let's set up markers, Pike said. Center, order. Money flows as per reports. Consultant Weil is under contract, paid by the center. Amy Norton is the public face of the foundation, holds meetings, sometimes chooses the wrong location. So far, nothing looks criminal. But the question remains, Carter said. Why was Seth so nervous at the school and at the bar? If the envelope was a brochure, Why did he look like he was expecting bad news? Maybe it's not about the money, Michael said. Maybe it's about expectations. The guy might have thought that everything would be decided now an internship, a training program, and all he gets in the envelope are general contacts and wait for a response. For a 22-year-old, that could be a shock. He was diligent. He liked order. He expected a detailed plan. Another possibility, Carter added, he could have been scared by the man in the maroon jacket, if it was Vale, and if Seth had his own personal reasons for being nervous at the sight of him. But that's an assumption. Tomorrow we're doing a short, formal interview with Vale in the presence of the center's lawyer. Work-related matters only. I agree, Michael said. And another line is the school's after-school coordinator. He could be a link. I'll go see him this afternoon. Pike nods. One last thing for today, Seth's family, she said. We're not going to them yet. It's too early. But we need a list of their contacts, so we're ready. Sheriff, will you take this? Yes, Michael said. I'll talk to our parish priest. He knows the family. I'll arrange the time. I don't want them to find out about the federal ones from the neighbors. At school, the extracurricular activities coordinator, Mr. Brown, met Michael and the agents in a small room with posters of school clubs. Yeah, I passed the contact on to Seth, he said. He was asking about how to get into foundation programs. I gave him Amy's card and a couple of links. I said, right, go to meetings, don't be shy. He seemed motivated. No weird talk. Why did you choose Amy and not, say, a full-time college center counselor? Carter asked. Because Amy opens doors faster, Brown said honestly. She has direct lines to the coordinators. Our advisor is good, but we're overloaded this year. We'll take any shortcut we can get. Did you know Seth met her at the bar? Michael asked. No, Brown replied. I assumed they would cross paths right at the festival. Maybe they decided to keep the noise down on the site. Did Seth have any conflicts with any of the teachers? Pike asked. No, Brown said. He was a normal guy, sometimes too straightforward. If he promised something, he would show up on time and ask why the others hadn't shown up. It irritated some of his peers, but not critically. They thanked her and left. The school band was rehearsing in the schoolyard. Carter glanced at her watch. I'll go back to the office and run through the digital trail, she said. I want to see if the email domains of the center, the school, and that mask number overlap. Not deep, just the top metadata. I'm going to the pastor, Michael said, then home. Pike nods. And a reminder, she said calmly, at home tonight, you're the husband, not the sheriff. Don't turn this into an interrogation. I understand, he said. In the basement of the local church, a soup service was underway. Pastor Peters was pouring out bowls. When he saw Michael, he nodded toward the office. They sat down at a small table. Seth's family is holding up, the pastor said. The mother is trying not to show her concern. The father is more silent than usual. They don't want attention. If you decide to talk, let me know. I'll be there. I'll warn you, Michael said. And one more thing. If any of the parishioners start talking about federal benefactors, I ask you to cool the conversation. Nowadays, any whisper turns into a story. I will, the pastor nodded. You hold on, Michael. He stepped out of the basement, got into the truck, and took a deep breath. The order was slowly forming in his head. The center was clear, the foundation was clear, the meeting at the bar was awkward in terms of form, but logical. Two knots remained: who had called Seth from a masked number and why he had gotten scared at school. The answers could be simple, without dark stories, but they had to be found. The house was quiet. Jilly was in the kitchen drawing a poster for the school wall. Jessica was cutting apples. Michael put a notebook on the table. As agreed, he said. 5 topics, no reproaches. They sat down at the table without phones. He started with the routine: who picks up Jilly, who cooks, who has what time window. Then housework. Jessica suggested having dinner together once a week with the babysitter next door. He agreed. They agreed not to discuss work at the table after 8 o'clock, except in an emergency. As for finances, they made a short plan for vacation and paying for clubs. The topic of boundaries with work contacts remained. Jessica said calmly, "If Ethan is at school, I don't stay alone with him. All calls are during the day on work issues at the center's mail. If he starts something personal, I end the conversation." "Okay," Michael said. "And for my part, I don't read your personal letters or look at your phone. If I feel anxious, I'll say it out loud rather than check." They looked at each other. No vows, no big drama, just rules. "And one more thing," Michael added. "I made an appointment for us to see a family counselor for Tuesday, 7 o'clock. A recommendation from the pastor. The first meeting is an introduction, no strings attached. If it's not a good fit, we'll look for someone else." "I agree," Jessica said. "Thank you for taking care of this." They finished around 9. Gilly came with a poster and asked to look. The poster had a house with the captions school, family, friends. Simple and clear. Michael praised it and hung it up to dry. The phone on the table responded with a short vibration, a message from Carter. "There is a legal version of the source of the masked number. Probably it is a corporate PBX of one of the government agencies. We will check tomorrow. Nothing to worry about, they are just slow in responding to the request." Michael felt another piece of anxiety go away. Sometimes it is not the fact that is scary, but the lack of a fact. "Shall we go to bed?" Jessica asked. "Let's go," he said. They turned off the light in the kitchen. The house was quiet again. On the refrigerator hung a to-do list for the week. Now there was a new item. Tuesday consultant, 7 p.m. It was not about the past, but about the future. Tuesday passed in the usual rush. In the morning, Michael gave a couple of instructions to Biggs, checked the answers on the school cameras, and briefly called Pike. Tomorrow, a formal conversation with Ethan Vale in the presence of the center's lawyer, and a separate interview with Amy Norton to clarify the meeting schedule. Carter sent a memo. The masked number really did go through the corporate PBX of a government agency. Details were promised by the end of the week. No signals of a conflict around the center were received. Jessica spent the day at school closing out quarterly reports, grades, tests, extracurricular plans. After lunch, she stopped by the Soul Center, dropped off 2 boxes for the music room, and returned home to be dressed by 7. At 6:40, they met at the door of the marriage counselor's office. It was a 1-story building with a carpeted common hallway and a sign that read, "Counseling Services." Music played softly in the waiting room. Framed licenses hung on the wall. The woman at the front desk handed them consent forms and a pen. "The first lesson is 35 minutes, she said in a neutral tone. "Insurance covers part of it. Confidentiality is maintained, except in life-threatening cases. If you agree, sign." They signed in silence. A middle-aged man came out of the office and wished them a good evening. The consultant, Dr. Linda Harper, invited them in. She was wearing a simple gray blouse and glasses without flashy frames. The office consisted of 2 chairs, a sofa, a table with napkins, and a pitcher of water. "I'm Linda," she said. "You can call me informally or informally, whichever is more convenient. I'll tell you right away, I don't take sides. I will help you talk. At the first meeting, we'll outline the rules, and at the second, we'll set goals. Tell me briefly why you're here." Michael took a short breath. "We've been married for 15 years, he said. "I recently found out that my wife had a previous relationship with a man she now has to cross paths with at work. She said so herself. We want to understand how to live on and how not to destroy the family. We have a 7-year-old daughter." "I agree with the wording," Jessica said. "I made a choice that I regret. I'm not asking for forgiveness here. I want to make rules. I also don't want our life to turn into a police department where everything is reported and checked." Linda nodded. "The rules are simple," she said. "Here, there is no shouting, no interrupting, no calling names, no repeating other people's words behind their backs. If emotions run high, say pause. And a request to Michael right away. You are a sheriff by profession. In the office, you are a husband, not an investigator. Do you agree? I agree, he said. Okay? Then let's start with expectations, Linda continued. Each in turn names 3 things they want from marriage in the next 3 months. Specifically, without, forever, never, always. Michael spoke first. First, a clear time regime for 2 without phones. Second, boundaries with work contacts that can affect us. Third, an honest warning if something from the past threatens to surface in the public sphere. I don't want to find out about this from third parties. Accepted, Linda said, turning to Jessica. I need, Jessica said, 1, to be heard when I say I'm tired. Not an answer like later, but an action. 2, for my decisions about work not to be perceived as an attempt to leave the family. And 3, for conversations not to turn into interrogations. If I say it's personal, it doesn't mean I'm planning something against us. Now about trust, Linda continued. It is often understood as I believe without proof. I prefer the word verifiable. What actions make relationships verifiable? A set schedule and shared activities, Michael said, and agreements on communications. For example, if I'm late, I write instead of keeping quiet. For me, it's the same thing, plus transparent boundaries, Jessica said. For example, if I'm meeting with people from the center, Michael has the right to know where and when, and I have the right not to take him with me if it's a work meeting. Linda wrote down on a piece of paper, time, boundaries, communication. Now here's the tricky part, she said, keeping her voice down. What would enough mean for each of you? What's the point at which you know your efforts are working? When the house stops feeling guarded, Michael said. When we can discuss our monthly plans without tension. When Gilly stops catching pauses. For me, when discussing work doesn't elicit closed faces and short ahas from Michael, Jessica replied. And when I can come back from an event and not have to wait for a stare check. It's measurable, Linda said. You can keep a short diary, 1 item in the evening. What went according to the rules and what didn't. Not for evaluation, but for notes. We'll see in 2 weeks. She paused and gave them water. Now about past boundaries, Linda said. Jessica, you said that the line with that person was drawn 7 months ago. Is there a risk of crossing paths outside of work? Friends, clubs, common gatherings? No, she said. Just workspaces. I've already marked the distance. Michael, what do you mean by alarm? Linda asked. The publicity of the county, he said. Everything becomes a rumor here quickly. Any photo and it goes viral. I don't want Gilly to learn anything at school. And I don't want people in my office to say, the sheriff doesn't control his house. It's not about control. It's about reputation, which is what decisions are made on. Reputation is not only about the past, Linda said. It is about today's actions. You have already come to the consultation. This is an action. Now, the technique of I-messages. We say, it is important to me, and not you again. Let's try. Michael turned to Jessica. It's important to me that you write when you have an evening work meeting, he said. Then I don't have to guess. It's important to me, she replied, that you don't come to my meetings unannounced, even if you're nearby. It's not about secrecy, it's about respect for my work. Agreed, Linda said. 1 more block, the child. What do you say to Gilly? At 7, children read faces better than adults. We said that adults are learning to talk better, Jessica said, without going into detail. That's enough, Linda confirmed. If he asks again, you can say that sometimes adults need a teacher too. You found one, it's true. She looked at her watch. Today we have 5 minutes. Homework, a list of common tasks for the next 2 weeks. Not grandiose, without changing lives. 2 or 3 specific things, a walk, a movie, working in the garden. And the second point is a rule, if you remember an unpleasant episode. You do not start a conversation after 10 in the evening. Put it off until the next day and write down the thesis on a piece of paper. Night is a bad advisor. They nodded. Linda shook their hands as they left. You move carefully, she said. That's already the result. See you in a week. In the hallway, Jessica lingered by the water machine. It feels weird, she said, but it's easier to talk when someone is holding the frame. Yes, Michael said. The eye rule helped me. I usually keep it short. I had to clarify that. Let's go get a bite to eat, she suggested. I don't want to go back and get stuck in work right away. Let's go to dinner on the 5th, he said. It's quiet there. The diner smelled of fried onions and coffee. They sat in a corner booth. At the next table, teenagers were discussing a baseball game. The waitress brought menus and smiled when she recognized Michael. As always, she asked. Yes, he replied. Grilled turkey and vegetables. Jess. Soup of the day and salad, Jessica said. The waitress left. They were left alone. Let's talk about common things right away, Michael said. This weekend, a walk in the park and coffee by the lake. And on Sunday, an hour in the yard. Leaves, tools, little things. And a movie at home on Friday, Jessica added. No phones. I'll pick something simple. And grocery shopping together on Monday. We haven't done that together in a while. Okay, he said, and wrote the points down in his notes. The phone on the table vibrated. A message from Pike. Tomorrow 10 o'clock Vale with the center's lawyer. At 11 o'clock short recording with Amy. Confirm. He replied, confirm. He put the phone down, screen down. Linda was right, he said. Not to discuss at night. Let's agree. Today's results, that's all. Okay, Jessica said. Then let's talk about school. We have a top party on Friday. I was asked to say a few words about grants. Is it okay if I speak? Yes, he said. Just tell them that the meetings with the consultants will take place during the day and at school. That will immediately close the unnecessary questions. I'll tell you, she nodded. The food was brought to them. They ate in silence for a couple of minutes. Then Jessica put down her spoon. I'll say it out loud, she said calmly. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to give the process time. I'm ready to tolerate your doubts. If you get stuck again, speak up. I'd rather have an honest conversation than 6 months of outsiders' views. Fair enough, he replied. And I'll tell you, I'll break down less often if I see a frame. Today's list is a frame. I hold on to things like that. They ate, grabbed coffee to go, and headed out. The sky above the parking lot was clear, the evening warm. On the way home, they stopped at the supermarket for milk and bread, to complete one of their new tasks straight away. Mrs. Lewis, a neighbor, was standing at the checkout. She exchanged a few words about the festival, complimented the baskets, and moved on. No sidelong glances, just a weekday evening. At home, Jilly was already asleep. Her homework sheet was on the kitchen table. Write 3 things you are grateful for today. She wrote, Daddy came to my choir. Mommy gave me 2 markers to choose from. The cat slept on my legs. Michael put the sheet back. They settled down on the couch in the living room. Jessica opened the calendar on her phone. Tuesday next week is a consultation, she said. I added it to the family calendar. And Friday's movie, too. Excellent, he said. Michael's phone buzzed again. Biggs was on the screen. Chief, not urgent. We found another fragment from the school parking lot the day before he disappeared. It's Seth talking to a man in the background. You can't see his face, but there are gestures. I'll show you in the morning. Michael replied. Copy that. Morning. He didn't pursue the conversation further. News? Jessica asked. Nothing urgent, he replied. We agreed not to go to work after 10. She placed the phone on the armrest and looked straight at him. Thank you for this evening, she said. I didn't know how it would be. It turns out it can be. It's possible, he said. You just have to take short steps. They turned off the light in the living room and went into the bedroom. Michael set the alarm, put the phone on the nightstand, and glanced at the family calendar for a second. The new items looked ordinary. That was the power. Before going to bed, he quietly said, "Tomorrow I have the morning with Biggs, then Vale and Amy. In the evening at home." "I'll be home too," she replied. "And Gilly's got a party on Thursday. Don't forget." "I remember," he said. They turned off the lights. The house was quiet, not perfect, but working. The morning began at the department with a video that Biggs brought in. He and Michael locked themselves in the evidence room. On the screen is the school parking lot the day before the disappearance. Seth is standing by a car, talking to someone out of frame. Only the edge of the jacket and the hand of the interlocutor are visible. Seth makes a wait gesture and points to the phone. Then he spreads his hands, as if he doesn't understand what is wanted from him. The car drives away. The camera catches part of the license plate. "I got halfway through the slab," Biggs said. "Coincidence with the Piedmont Civic Trust. That's the foundation that does our school projects. They have company cars." "Keep it cool," Michael replied. "The fact is, it's a corporate machine. No conclusions. Send Pike a photo and a time code." Michael's phone vibrated. A message from Maria Pike. "Verification on a masked number. This is the general switchboard for the Community Partnerships Program at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Atlanta." Seth's last call was from the extension assigned to the Educational Initiatives Consultant. Last name, Mercer. At 11:18, 17 minutes. "We need his interview." Then a call. "Do you hear that?" Pike asked when Michael picked up the phone. "Yes. Here's the situation," she said. "Mercer is a lawyer, a volunteer consultant for the prosecutor's office, and at the same time, he is a member of the board of trustees of a foundation that finances school programs, including through the Soulful Center. He is not your man and not ours. He is in a gray area, a public counsel, grants, connections. I have a request. You do not go to talk to him. This is not a question of trust in you. It is procedurally pure." "Got it," Michael said. "I've told you about my conflict. You take the rest." "One more thing," Pike added. "My supervisor wants to formally outline the scope of your involvement. You'll remain the liaison for the school, the local polls, and Seth's family. Anything to do with the foundation and the Dawes office, we'll handle it." "I'm fine with it," Michael said. "It's important to me that people in the area see transparency." They agreed to meet in her office in an hour for a short paper on the conflict and delineation of roles. Before Michael could put the phone down, County Commissioner Hank Dobbs called. His voice was polite but firm. "Mike, hi. I heard you have a lot of work. I'll be honest. Donors are nervous. People see the federal government at the center, and the center is our partner. We don't want school programs to suffer because of formalities. You know what I mean." "I understand," Michael said. "We don't walk around the center. We take documents on request and talk openly. No show. And yes, I am stepping away from anything related to the foundation." "Very well," Dobbs said. "Give me a message for the Board of Trustees, in one sentence." "We're following procedures, not rumors," Michael said. "The goal is to find the guy. Charity is not in the cards. Any questions should be through official channels." "It's coming," Dobbs replied. "Keep me posted." Michael put the phone away and looked at Biggs. "Did you see it?" he asked. "I could see it on your face," Biggs chuckled. "They're testing your softness." "I'm being tested for predictability," Michael said. "We stay within the lines. Work with the school team and the bar team. The foundation is not our line." At the FBI headquarters, Maria Pike brought up a short diagram on the screen. School, bar, Soul Center, foundation, prosecutor's office. Thin arrows, contacts, no interpretation. She called an assistant, brought 2 forms. "It's technical," she told Michael. "You sign a conflict of interest statement and a role delineation memorandum. We'll note that you're not involved in procedural communications with Weil, Norton, and Mercer. If we need district context, we'll ask you separately." "Okay," Michael said and signed. The door opened. A man in a suit entered and introduced himself. Miller, deputy head of the department. He sat down next to her, Without further ado, I appreciate you reporting the conflict yourself, Miller said. Now, my direct request. If the district starts pressuring us through politics or through the press, call Pike. We won't discuss it over the phone, but we'll document it. In these cases, people like to talk about connections and calls from above. We need to keep the line clear of emotion. Got it, Michael said. And one more thing, Miller added. We don't see a threat to the center or the fund at the moment, but we must ask Mercer about the call to Seth. The questions will be simple. Who initiated it? What was discussed? Did he recommend meeting in a bar? From there, on the facts. I won't interfere, Michael said. Let me know if you need anything from the district after this conversation. Miller nodded and left. Pike closed her laptop. You have a window now, she said. School and Coordinator Brown before lunch, if needed. We're going to see Mercer in Atlanta. We'll report back when we get back. I'll stop by the school again, Michael said. And the pastor, we're in touch with Seth's parents. I don't want them hearing about feds and funds from the neighbors. That's right, Pike said. The school coordinator Brown's office was bustling with activity schedules being changed. Brown pulled Michael aside. I heard that the federal ones are coming through the fund, he said in a low voice. People are already whispering that someone is pressuring the center. No one is pressuring, Michael replied. We're just collecting facts. If the kids ask, just say briefly, adults are checking to make sure everything is according to the rules. Nothing more. I will, Brown said. There's news. Yesterday, I got a general email from the program at the prosecutor's office. They're inviting us to an online meeting on initiatives for high school students. They want to tell us about free consultations. Maybe Seth looked at that. Send it to the office email, Michael said. It fits the picture. He took a photo of the sign on the board. Civics Education, free consultations, online session Thursday. The date matched the week Seth disappeared. At 1 o'clock, Michael stopped by the house for 10 minutes. Jessica glanced at her watch and poured coffee into a thermos. I'm here to record a webinar for donors, she said. 5 minutes about how the school uses grants. No names, just numbers. Okay, he said. I have the paperwork on the conflict signed. Everything connected with the foundation and the prosecutor's office is handled by agents. I stick to the school, family, and local cameras. That's reasonable, she said quietly. If you need any documents about our applications, tell me through the official channel. I'll tell you who's quickest to get it from. I will, he nodded. And thanks for last night. We need it. She smiled briefly. The movie is not canceled on Friday, she reminded me. It's not canceled, he said and drove back. By 3, Biggs had sent another clip from the parking lot. This time, a man in a dark jacket was seen approaching Seth, the same set of shoulders as Vale, but his face was obscured by the bill of the baseball cap on the guy walking between the camera and them. The man had his hands in his pockets, and his gait was confident. They stood there for a minute and then went their separate ways. The time was the day before the bar, Biggs said. It could be Vale, but I can't prove it by his gait. No need, Michael said. The feds will handle that. The phone vibrated again. Pike. We talked to Mercer. Briefly, he says he called Seth at the request of the school's facilitator. Discussed online civics program and possible internships with the foundation. Didn't specify a bar. Said he hadn't met him in person. We'll be checking metadata and email chains from now on. A minute later, another. Ethan Vale tomorrow at 10 o'clock. The center's attorney is nearby. We'll ask about his visits to the school and whether he knew Seth personally. Michael replied, accepted. I am unavailable for the procedural portion. He put the phone down and went outside. A reporter from the local newspaper met him on the porch of the department. Sheriff, a word? He asked. People are saying the feds are looking into the fund that supports our schools. Is that true? The truth is that we have a missing young man, Michael said. We are looking for him. Our federal partners are checking all working contacts around him. The foundation and the center continue to work. There is nothing to panic about. Can I quote that? The reporter asked. We can, Michael said, but no speculation. If you have any questions, call the Federal Press Service. I have a meeting now. The reporter nodded and walked away. Michael knew that with a few sentences, he was setting the tone for the city's conversation. That was important. In the evening, Pike called again. Today's report, she said. Mercer confirmed the call and the topic of conversation. He'll show the papers tomorrow. The connections with the fund are clear. He's on the board, but he doesn't accept money personally. Norton has an appointment tomorrow at 11 o'clock, as planned. As for Weil, everything is on schedule. And one more thing. If they contact you through the commissioner or through friends, just forward the contacts to me. Don't get into discussions. It's important for us to hold the line now. Got it, Michael said. I have a meeting with the pastor in the morning to prepare Seth's family for a possible press visit. Then I'll see Biggs, then school. Excellent, Pike said. And remember, you're the husband at home. We're the one with the business. I remember, he replied. At home, Jilly was trying on her costume for the school party. Jessica held the pins and laughed as she tried to spin and hold still at the same time. Michael helped trim the ribbon with scissors. The air smelled of ironing and starch. Dinner was simple: pasta, salad, and bread. Conversation was even. Jessica gave a brief account of how the webinar recording went. She said that after the presentation, several parents came up to thank her for being transparent with the baskets and lists. Michael shared the news about the school email from the prosecutor's office and how he gave the reporter the official wording. They asked me in the staff room if the center would be closed, Jessica said. I said no, and that any questions would be through open reports. That's right, Michael said. People need to hear the same words. After dinner, they cleared the table together. Jilly went off to draw a poster for the matinee. Michael put the kettle on. They're talking to Vale tomorrow, he said. I'm out of it. If you see him at school, keep your distance. We agreed, but I remind you. I'll keep you, she said. I've set myself a rule. No just a minute or having a snack after the meeting. Only on business and not alone. Thank you, he said. They walked out onto the porch. It was a warm evening. The neighbor was working on his lawn mower. No questions from behind the fence, no hints, just life. I know it's hard for you, Jessica said. You're in the middle of a business and in the middle of a family, but you're holding the line. It shows. I follow the rules, he said. It can't be done any other way. He glanced at the list on the refrigerator through the open kitchen door. Friday movies, Tuesday consultation, Thursday matinee. Simple things. They were what held a home together. The phone beeped briefly. Biggs had sent a reminder for the meeting in the morning. Michael answered okay and put the phone away. Too early to sleep, Jessica asked. Yes, he said. Tomorrow is a long day. They turned off the porch light, checked the doors, and went into the bedroom. No unnecessary conversation, just the order they had chosen. In the morning, Michael stopped by the station, left Biggs his agenda for the day, and drove to the FBI office. He was not required to interview Vale per procedural rules, but he wanted to be nearby to quickly work through local issues. In the reception area, he noted in his notebook, Pastor 2 p.m., school 4 p.m., press inquiries per Pike. We'll start without you, Maria Pike said, leaving the conference room. The center's lawyer is here, and so is Weil. When we're done, I'll tell you what we can pass on to the press. Agreed, Michael said. I'll check with the school about the room schedule for tomorrow and check with the pastor for Seth's family. If anything, stay in touch. He went down to the ground floor cafe for coffee, answered a few work messages, and returned to the lobby. He spent about an hour reading through the district reports to keep his mind off the guesswork. His phone vibrated briefly. Done. Come in, Pike wrote. Pike and Carter were sitting in the conference room. The center's lawyer and Weil were no longer there. Quickly, Pike said. Vale confirmed that he saw Seth at the school the day before, a quick conversation in the parking lot. According to him, it was a simple, "Hey, I'll send you the materials later," nothing outside of procedure. The video doesn't show everything, but the timing matches. He knew about the bar. Amy said she met a guy and gave him a bag. There was no money. We got access to the school's internal correspondence from Vale. There are standard letters, lists of programs, links to forms. The center's lawyer didn't object. "Thank you," Michael said. "About Amy, we have it on camera at 11, Carter said. "Questions are policy-based only. After that, we'll give you and the county commissioner a brief press release." The meeting was informational, program materials were provided, no money was transferred, the foundation and center continue to operate. No names unless Seth's family agrees to be mentioned. And Pike added, "on the masked number." Mercer from the program at the prosecutor's office sent confirmation. The call to Seth was about an online civic education session and free consultations. He insists he did not schedule any in-person meetings. "We requested logs answer tomorrow." "Accepted," Michael nodded. The recording with Amy went quickly. She calmly repeated what she had said the day before. Corporate card, brochure bag, 20 minutes, then work on site. She added at the end, "We will revise the meeting location rule. Only school, foundation office, or sites with official rooms." Pike thanked her and closed the camera. At 12:30, as they were gathering up the files, Carter's phone rang. She listened silently, nodded briefly, and looked at Pike. She hung up. "We found Seth," she said calmly. "He's safe and sound. Atlanta, City College campus. He checked into a friend's guest room, used their Wi-Fi, left the car on the highway because it was overheating, then took a bus. He said he got scared and decided to take a break. He's got a campus security officer with him now. We're on our way." Michael exhaled. "Can I go?" he asked. "Not as an investigator, as someone who knows him. I won't ask questions about the case." Pike looked at him carefully. "You will go," she said after a pause. "But you will only talk after we finish our questions, and if he himself asks." The drive to Atlanta took a little over an hour. On the way, Pike texted the commissioner. "The person has been found. Life is not in danger. Please do not comment at this time." Michael called the pastor. "I will only tell the family that they found him. The rest will come after we talk. Do not give details." In the campus security office sat a young guy in a light shirt, the same look Michael remembered, polite, tired. Next to him was a campus security officer. On the table was a plastic bottle of water and a small package of cookies. "Seth," Pike said calmly, "I'm Agent Pike. This is Agent Carter. We're working on your disappearance. Glad to see you're alive. We're going to ask a few questions. Sheriff Raines is here. He'll join you later if you'd like." "I understand," Seth said quietly. "Sorry for causing everyone trouble." He looked confused and disoriented, but not afraid. Carter turned on the recorder. "Tell me what happened the day you left the car," she asked. "I was driving after talking on the phone," he said. "The car overheated. I pulled over to the side of the road, opened the hood. Papers fell out of a folder. I was collecting them. It must have been like a struggle. Then I thought that if I called one of our guys, they would start asking questions, and I didn't know how to explain. I was stressed. I took a bus to Atlanta, spent the night at a friend's house, then moved into a friend's guest room. My phone died, then I turned it off. I wanted to go to an open house for internships and then come back and explain everything. But I was delayed." "Have you met with anyone from the foundation or the program at the prosecutor's office?" Pike asked. "No," he shook his head. "I wanted to, but I got scared. The website said registration closed, so I went to the library, read the materials. I thought I'd come back and talk to the school principal. I didn't want any problems." "What was in the envelope they handed you at the bar?" Carter asked. "Brochures, a list of contacts, a few business cards," he replied. "I read them that evening. Everything was correct, but I thought I was being overly naive to expect a quick response. I don't blame anyone. It was my mistake in expectations. Did you take any documents from the department that you weren't supposed to take? Pike asked. No, he said. I had a folder with my notes and letters of recommendation from college professors. There were no police files there. If there are papers in the video, they are my copies. I wouldn't take someone else's documents. Pike and Carter exchanged glances. Okay, Pike said. We'll check that our timing is right. Your car is fine. A tow truck took it away. No tickets. Your parents are worried about you. We'll arrange a conversation with them today. Would you like the sheriff to join us? Seth looked at Michael. Yes, he said. If I may, I feel bad that I disappeared right before his eyes. Pike nodded. Michael sat down next to her, but not too close. I'm glad you're alive, he said simply. I won't ask you any questions. That's not my part. I'll just tell you this. When things don't go according to plan, we have two numbers, mine and dispatch. Always call, even if you think you've done something stupid. That's what we're here for. Got it, Seth said. Sorry. There's nothing to forgive me for, Michael replied. You're going home with the agents. I'll come to your parents' house later with the pastor, so everyone hears the same words. Carter wrote down the parents' contact information. Pike drew up a short report. Alive, no threats, no evidence of a crime, next steps coordination with family and employer. They went outside. On the playground near the building, students in t-shirts argued about the schedule. Life went on as usual. In the car, Pike summed it up. Our conclusions for today: no signs of a crime. Traces of a struggle near the car, papers scattered chaotically, and traces of a parking jack. The meeting at the bar was awkward but businesslike. The call from the program at the prosecutor's office about an online session. Seth overestimated expectations, got scared, and left without warning. Next comes the administrative part, his internship in your department and a possible disciplinary reprimand for lack of communication. This is at your discretion. We are not interfering in this case anymore. I'll do it the right way, Michael said. Without a stigma for life. He's young. The main thing is that he's alive. I agree, Pike said, and we'll give a short comment from the foundation and the center. Meetings are moving to a daytime format, materials only through official channels. Amy already said that on camera. I'll ask them to put a no meetings in bars rule on their website. It's not a law, but it's a good sign for parents. It will cut down on the noise, Michael said. On his way to the county, Michael called Commissioner Dobbs. Found. Alive. No crime. Together with the federal authorities, we will say briefly, the young man took a break, is now at home. The foundation and the center continue their work. Excellent, Dobbs said. That'll take the pressure off. Thank you. They arranged to visit the family at the pastor's. Seth's parents greeted the news with tears of relief. The pastor offered some calm words about how children sometimes make sudden moves, and it's the adult's job to get them back on track. Michael added, he will be reprimanded for unauthorized absence, but without dismissal. We will assign a mentor to him to see him through to the end of his internship. He needs to finish the year. Then he will decide for himself. Thank you, Seth's mother said. We were terrified. We'll talk to him at home without shouting. That's the main thing, Michael said. If anything happens, I'm here. That evening, Pike sent a press release. Michael read it aloud to Jessica in the kitchen. The missing trainee has been found. There is no threat to his life. According to preliminary data, there was an independent decision to leave for several days without notifying the employer. The investigation into the signs of a crime has been closed. The foundation and the public center continue their activities. It is recommended that all meetings with students and trainees be held during the daytime at official sites. There are no comments on the private lives of the participants. Sounds even, Jessica said. No extra words. That's how it should be, Michael answered. And one more thing. The commissioner called me today. He thanked me for the careful work. I said that it was done jointly with the federals. Without them, we would have searched longer. It's good that Seth is alive, she said. And it's good that the meetings will now be given a clear framework. It will be easier for the parents. Yes, he nodded. Tomorrow I will sign a disciplinary document on him and appoint a mentor. And I will write a short order in my office. Any career conversations with young people only through the school, center, or office of the foundation, so that no one gets the idea to solve outside. That's right, Jessica said. I'll put up a sign at my school too. Don't meet with counselors after 8 o'clock. Don't take conversations to cafes. They had a simple pasta and tomato sauce dinner and talked to Jilly about her party. Then they sat on the porch. The silence was work-like, not forced. You know, Jessica said quietly, this whole Seth thing made me think again about helping. Sometimes we're in such a rush to help that we forget about the uniform. And for people, the uniform is safe. That's right, Michael said. I always say that in my department. Today it became obvious to everyone. We took a step to prevent such holes from happening in the future. He made a quick note on his pad. Orders, meeting formats, mentor setu, press briefing. Next to it, a household list, Friday movie, Tuesday consultation, Thursday matinee. The usual lines, but this time they didn't seem secondary. They were holding the house. Later, he received a text from Pike. Missing case closing as self-departure. Stay in touch on formalities. Thanks for your cooperation. He responded, thank you too. No fuss, that's the best victory. Before going to bed, Jessica said, I'll meet Amy at a work meeting tomorrow. I'll tell her that it's right that they're changing the rules, and that our school will support this rule. Okay, Michael said, and I'll add the same thing to the school board meeting, so that everything goes the same way. They turned off the lights. There was no denouement with fanfare. There was a typical adult denouement. The boy came back, the adults agreed on the rules, the services did their job, and at home again, a list on the refrigerator and an evening without phones. In the morning, the parking lot in front of the school was almost full. Michael parked his pickup in the far row so as not to take up space for parents with small children. The assembly hall smelled of freshly washed floors and paper. On stage, the children were already lining up in 2 lines. Jilly had a white shirt, a blue bow. Jessica was standing in the wings with a notepad, helping the music teacher. When she saw Michael, she nodded. Without gestures or unnecessary emotions, work mode, but warm. The choir sang 3 short songs. Jilly found her father with her eyes, smiled, and clutched the napkin she had been given before going on. After the applause, the parents began to leave. Michael waited until the crowd thinned out and then went over to Jessica. That was good, he said. Thank you for keeping the kids in order. It shows. Thank you for coming, she replied. Gilly is always calmer when you're in the room. They went outside. It was clear and cool. Jilly ran up and hung on Michael's arm. Dad, we have a wall newspaper rehearsal after school. Will you pick me up at 5? She asked. I'll take it, he said. Mom and I are home for dinner tonight. He drove them to the back entrance, said goodbye, and went to the department. Biggs was already waiting for him in the office with a short paper folder. Seth has been issued a disciplinary reprimand, Biggs said. No Suvorovs. Clark will be the mentor. He has patience and order. We are extending the internship by 2 weeks to close the gap. Great, Michael said. I'll talk to Seth in person. Seth arrived half an hour later and knocked politely. The tiredness was still on his face, but his gaze was direct. Sit down, Michael said. I won't discipline you. We have a rule. If you disappear without calling, it's disciplinary action. You'll get that. But we're not putting a cross on you. Clark will be your mentor. Your job is to see your internship through to the end and show that you can hold the line. I get it, Seth said. Thank you for not writing me off. I won't go into silence again. And one more thing, Michael added. If you need help with documents for programs, use the official route. School, center, foundation only through daytime meetings. No quick solutions. They burn. Accepted, Seth nodded. They shook hands. When the guy left, Michael signed an order for the department. Contacts with young people only through the school, center, or office of the foundation. Evening meetings are an exception, only with approval. Pike sent a copy to the commissioner. That afternoon, Michael stopped by the pastors. They briefly discussed how to talk to Seth's parents about the no-stigma fine and agreed on a format for thanking the center's volunteers for their work at the festival. No generalities, just facts and short phrases. In the evening, the parents' committee was meeting at the school. Jessica arrived early, checked the projector, laid out the printouts, grants how it works, where the money goes, rules for meetings. There were about 30 people in the room. Amy Norton sat in the last row without a badge like a high school student's mother, not a representative of the foundation. Director Rosenberg opened the meeting and said briefly, "We appreciate the support. Today about order and transparency." Jessica walked towards the screen. 5 points, she said calmly. First, we prepare applications through the Soul Center. The reports are public. The links are on your sheet. Second, the Foundation's consultants meet with our students and interns only during the day and at school. Third, no personal envelopes or quick decisions in bars and cafes. Only brochures in envelopes with a logo only through the office. Fourth, questions about money through the center's accounting department. Fifth, parents can attend any meeting if the child is under 18. This is your right. A hand went up in the hall. And if someone suggests bending the rules to speed things up, asked the man in the plaid shirt. We don't accept such offers, Jessica replied. If someone offers, they don't work with our school. I tell the director, the center is a foundation. This is not a nice answer, this is daily practice. Amy raised her hand. I will add from the foundation, she said. We have updated the internal regulations. Meetings are only at official sites. If you receive an invitation to meet in the evening, write directly to the foundation's office. We will confirm that this is not our communication. Your trusting view of our work is important to us. The conversation was calm. A couple of parents asked questions about the individual classes, and someone praised the baskets. Rosenberg ended by saying, "Thank you all. I'm glad we're talking before the noise starts." After the meeting, Jessica was closing her laptop when a woman from the junior class approached her. It was clear, she said. Without the smiling water, it's clearer to everyone that way. That was the goal, Jessica replied. Michael was waiting at the exit. They walked to the parking lot. It was early evening in the sky. The promised movie was waiting for them at home. Friday's movie night went as planned. They had chosen an old American film without any tense themes. The phones were in the kitchen. Jilly laughed at the right moments. Jessica brought popcorn during a pause. Michael noticed how quiet the house had become, not because the problems had disappeared, but because there were rules. He didn't say it out loud, but it was important. The next day they went to the lake. Nothing big, a short walk along the shore, paper cups of coffee, Jilly feeding the ducks grain bought at the kiosk. An old man sat on a bench nearby, leafing through a newspaper, said hello to Michael, and didn't ask about federal or funds. A simple day. I made one change to my schedule, Jessica said as they walked along the wooden deck. I'm taking 2 nights a week. No meetings, no check-ins after 6. One night is ours. One is mine. A book, a bath, silence. I need that to get me off the phone. I'm picking up 2 overtime shifts a month, he said. I made a deal with Biggs. He'll cover it. I'll definitely have 2 evenings when I'm home. They walked side by side. The words were simple, like a shopping list. But from such words a week is made up. On Sunday, they had their second session with Linda Harper. This time she asked about the 2-point journal. They were honest. They had written 4 times during the week. Linda said that was a normal start. What worked? She asked. The don't discuss it after 10 thing worked, Michael said. We rescheduled the conversation for the morning twice, and it wasn't a big deal in the morning. The text where I am thing worked, Jessica added. Michael has started saying okay without asking if it's a school meeting, and I'm not afraid to text him a quick, I'll be there at 9. Wonderful, Linda said. Then let's take it to the second level. Every week, one joint activity that isn't about the child or the home. Something small, a new restaurant, reading one chapter of the same book, going to a small museum. Not for the sake of it, but for the sake of shared experience. The period is a month. Then we'll see. They agreed. On the way out, Jessica suggested, we have a window on Thursday after the matinee. Let's stop by a small photography museum. It's on the way. The ticket is cheap. Half an hour and home. Wonderful, Linda said. Then let's take it to the second level. Every week, one joint activity that isn't about the child or the home. Something small, a new restaurant, reading one chapter of the same book, going to a small museum. Not for the sake of it, but for the sake of shared experience. The period is a month. Then we'll see. On Monday morning, Michael gave a brief report to the commissioner and sent the school board a memo on meetings. A newspaper reporter sent a polite piece without the yellow headlines. Missing intern returns, youth meeting rules to be clearer. At the end, a quote agreed upon with Pike. No names, no witch hunt. At school, Jessica posted a How Grants worksheet on the parent bulletin board. Kids walking by didn't pay attention. They were more concerned with who was going to baseball and where to get markers. It was the right balance. That evening, they sat in the kitchen with the same notebook. Michael opened the page next month and wrote, Thursday photography museum, 30 minutes. Friday movie at home. Tuesday consultation with Linda. Weekends an hour in the yard together. Sounds like a schedule, Jessica chuckled. Yes, he said, but it's clear where we are on each other's calendar. He paused and added, and one more thing. I need to get one thing out there. I can't promise I won't have jealous outbursts. That's not a button, but I have a rule. I'll wait 20 minutes or reschedule until the morning before talking, and I won't use the service to check in on you. That's a line I won't cross. I hear you, she replied, and I'll say it openly too. I can't promise that I won't be hurt by your dryness on some evenings, but I'll remind myself that it's not a punishment. It's a path to peace, and I won't test your patience with hints. If I feel bad, I'll say it straight out. Accepted, he said. The timer on the intercom clicked. The oven reminded them about the chicken. They got out a baking sheet, set the table, called Jilly. During dinner, they talked about simple things, classes, rehearsals, the center's warehouse, a new batch of notebooks that volunteers would sort out tomorrow. At some point, Jilly asked, will you go to the teacher for adults again? Yes, Jessica answered. We're learning to speak better. It's like your music lessons. Jilly nodded and switched to talking about the poster. That night, Michael woke up for a minute and listened to the house. He no longer tried to pick up signals where there were none. He did what he could. He conducted the matter according to the rules, did not drag the family into someone else's drama, accepted his wife's honest words and set boundaries. The rest is daily work. The next day they stopped by the museum. A small hall, several series of photographs of local streets, captions with dates. They did not argue which was better. They simply walked nearby and sometimes stopped at the same photograph. Then they drank coffee at a nearby kiosk and returned to their business. A week later, a new item appeared on the family calendar. July quick weekend trip to Jessica's sister's. Not for show, but so that the house would have a plan that didn't depend on strangers calling. Michael added to his notepad, support is not words, but actions according to a schedule. He moved the sheet to the edge of the table so as not to lose it. That evening, they watched a movie again without phones. The cat slept on the back of the sofa, Jilly fell asleep earlier and was carried into the room. Before going to bed, Jessica said, thank you for coming with me into all this. I was afraid that we would fall and not get up. We're going slowly, Michael replied. That's enough. He turned off the light. The house was ordinary. Their choice was ordinary, but now he had a foundation, rules, work, family, and an honest conversation that they no longer put off for later. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.